Hey everybody, I'm making this video to help you with your assignment for this week. So you're starting your science project, which is going to continue until the end of the semester. It may not take you that long to get it finished, but I wanted to make sure that I gave you plenty of time in case your experiment actually took longer than somebody else's. All right, so for this week, you're kind of like preparing everything and getting ready to do the experiment. You're not actually going to start the experiment until after you turn in this assignment and I contact you back. Right, so either I email you back or we talk on the phone or something like that to make sure that what you're doing is going to work or that you have a good, idea or whatever. All right, so when you turn something in this week, the first thing that it asks you for is the problem. All right, so whatever you're testing, that's what your problem is going to be. And it needs to be written in the form of a question. So like, here's an example. All right, do seeds germinate better under acidic or basic conditions? All right, that can also be said as, how does pH affect the rate of seed germination? I'm actually going to do this experiment. I'm going to do the entire science project just like y'all are doing it, and this is what I'm going to do. So my problem would be, how does pH affect the rate of seed germination? That's what I want to know. All right, and then for my hypothesis, remember, a hypothesis, y'all, is an educated guess. All right, so in order for me to make an educated guess, I need to learn something about seed germination because honestly, I don't know a lot about it. All right, so I went and I looked up some stuff. All right, and I found in one article it said the optimum pH for bedding plants was between 5.5 and 7 on the pH scale. All right, so just a little bit less than neutral. So slightly acidic soil is good for seed germination. That's what I found. All right, so that's going to help me to form my hypothesis. All right, my hypothesis, y'all, needs to be written as an if-then statement. And here's what I would say. All right, if radish seeds are exposed to basic solution, then germination will take longer or will not occur. All right, that's one example of what a hypothesis could be. It could be, it's whatever you think, but it needs to be stated as, if I do this, then this is what's going to happen. That's your hypothesis. All right, now for the next part, it asks you to talk about your procedures. I don't want you to write up the whole experiment and give me the step-by-step thing, but just kind of tell me what you're going to do. So for my experiment, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use seeds in Ziploc bags, and I'm going to make the solutions that I water them with. One's going to be acidic, one's going to be neutral, and one's going to be basic. And that's going to take some research. I need to find out, how am I going to make my solution acidic? How am I going to make it basic? But that's, something that you can do a little bit later. You don't have to have all that done right now. All right, so basically what I'm going to do is water them each day, and then I'm going to see what happens. That's what's going to be in my procedure. All right, and every time that I water them, I'm going to use a solution that has that same pH. So it would be ideal for me to make up my solutions from the beginning, right, and use from that same solution each time I water, that Ziploc bag for germination. You may also want to find out some other information about your topic before you come up with your procedures. Like I found out in my research that temperatures between 18 and 24 degrees Celsius are good for seed germination. Seed germination can take anywhere from less than a week to 2 weeks to occur. It does need light for it to happen. And I probably need to research a little bit more and maybe even look at an experiment for germinating seeds, right, and see how they did it so that I can come up with good procedures. All right, and then you also need to make sure that you repeat your experiment 3 times. You can either do it fully for one time and then do it again and then do it again. That wouldn't really work for the amount of time that we have for me, so I need to make sure that I do at least 3 different groups, or even more than that, whatever, depending on how many seeds I can get. then that will determine the number of groups that I'm going to have. Right, but I need to have at least 3. Right, and the reason you want to have at least 3 is so that you can prove that your results are repeatable. Right, if they're repeatable, then they're more valid. Okay, and then the next thing it asks for is your measurement technique. All right, y'all, this is important. All right, so how are you going to measure if any change has occurred? All right, how are you going to figure out if your hypothesis is true or false? All right, so what I'm going to do to measure my growth is I'm going to weigh it. I have a little scale here at home that we use to like weigh meat and stuff like that. All right, so I'm going to mass my bags, all right, throughout the experiment. I'm going to also visually inspect them to see if it has more or less growth. All right, and then at the end, I can actually take the seeds out, stretch out the growth, all right, and measure it and see which one has the most growth. I wouldn't want to do that in the middle, so I'm going to save that for the end, right? But those are the ways that I could measure the results. Okay, I also need a control group. So what if the control group is your standard? So I need to know like what seeds normally need to germinate, all right? And I know they need water, all right? So my control group is going to be distilled water, all right? So one of my bags is only going to get distilled water, all right? That's going to be my control group. Okay. Next on the list, you need to identify what the independent variable is. All right. So in my experiment, the independent variable is going to be the different types of solutions, or the pH level of the solutions. All right, because that's what I'm testing. That's the only thing that's going to be different in the experiments in each group. All right, so in one group, I'm going to have an acidic solution. One group is going to be distilled water. And then the other is going to be a basic solution. So those are my independent variables, the type or the pH of the solution. All right, and then the next thing on the list is the dependent variable. All right, this is what you're actually measuring. All right, so I've already told you that I'm going to measure the mass. I'm going to visually look at it and see if it has more growth. All right, and then in the end, I'm going to measure the length. All right, so my dependent variable is the amount of seed germination, like the growth that occurs right during this whole process. Right, so my independent variable is what I'm testing. It's the type of solution. And then the dependent variable is what I measure. So it's the growth. All right, and then when you have all this ready and you turn it in, right, then we need to have a conference. All right, so either we can do it by email or text, or I can give you a call, whatever. All right, so after you turn this in, or when you turn this in, if you want me to, if you want me to call you about it, you can make a note of that. If you'd prefer that I just email you, that's good too. Or text, just let me know. All right, so whatever you want me to do, that's how I'm going to get back in touch with you. All right, and that's how you're going to know if you're ready to move on and start the actual experiment. Timing on this is very important. So I'm going to give y'all a little bit of extra credit if you turn this in a day early. All right, so if you turn it in by 3 o'clock on Wednesday, all right, then you'll get some bonus points on this assignment. And that'll give me more time to, talk to y'all individually and let you get started with your experiments. If not, the assignment is due on Thursday at 3 o'clock. Right, so it's just one day early to get the extra points. And if you don't turn it in on time, that's okay too. I'll still take it after that. You just have less time to do the experiment. So make sure that you choose something that you can do, in a few days, not a few weeks, right? Because we are getting close to the end of the semester. All right, so just call me if you have any questions. Thanks.